Hello everyone. In this video I'm going to be showing you how to use torrents. First I'm just going to do a super quick overview showing you how to quickly download a torrent, and then I'm going to go back a second time and kind of go more in depth to really teach you everything about it. Now the first thing we're going to need to do is download a torrent client. My favorite is BitTorrent. There are tons of them. I mean, uTorrent, BitTorrent, Delage, root tracker, transmission. But if you want to follow along with this video, just go ahead and get BitTorrent. Now you're going to go to qbittorrent.org/download and just look for the download link here. And for me, I'm choosing Windows x64 because I'm on 64-bit, and most of you probably are as well. But if you happen to be on 32-bit, just choose this top one. We're going to click that, and it's going to download, click save, and whenever that downloads, just run the setup. I'm going to minimize Firefox for now, and as you can see, I've already had this installed, so you won't have to worry about that. It's going to come up and you're just going to blow through all these. If you want a desktop shortcut, there you go. If not, just leave it blank. And there we go. So we're going to launch BitTorrent. Now when yours first comes up, you're going to see a little warning saying, hey, you're not allowed to use this for piracy. So just wait a couple seconds and hit the agree button and you'll never see that again. So here we are. I won't go through any of the settings right now because by default, it's going to be fine for most of you. So in order to download something, you're going to need to go to a torrent website. I'm using 1337X. Pirate Bay is probably the most well-known place to download stuff, but it frequently goes down. And when I say frequently, I mean anytime you go to that website, there's a 50-50 chance on whether it's going to be online or not. So for this video, I'm just going to use 1337X, and it's pretty much the same for everywhere else. As you can see, here's all the most popular torrents. Now right now I'm showing you how to torrent without using any sort of VPN or seed box or any sort of protection at all, so I'm not going to download anything like that because you could get copyright infringement stuff that way. I mean, if you're not from America or maybe the UK or places like that, it's probably not that important because they don't seem to care as much. But for me, I'm just going to download something that's not going to give me any warnings. Alright, so we search for a file and here we go. You're going to want to make sure this is sorted by seeders. A seeder is somebody who has this file and is willing to let you download it from them. So if you try to download something that doesn't have any seeders, then it's going to be impossible because you're trying to download something, but there's nobody there to get it from. So if we look at this file here, it's got 6 seeders. So that one's going to download a whole lot better than, say, this one down here with only 1 seeder. Now I'm just going to choose this one right here. And most of you are going to click Magnet Download. And that's going to pull this up, and all the basic settings are going to be fine for you. Click OK, and now it's added. Now I say most of you are going to click Magnet, but if you're using an older torrent client or something like root tracker, which doesn't really support magnet links very well, then you can also download the .torrent file and open it that way. So as you can see, this is downloading from one person. And at first it's going to download pretty slow, but then over time it'll get faster and faster. So let's go through a couple things here. I'm going to go down here to General, and most of that you don't really care about. This is the total file right here, and this is the parts of the file that we have downloaded. Unlike downloading a file in your browser, it doesn't just download the beginning of the file and then slowly work its way through. It just downloads whichever part of the file you get sent. Now, this is a pretty important part here. Trackers are what track all the seeds. They're the ones that kind of link up and tell you, okay, whenever I'm downloading this file, I'm saying, hey, I want this file. And these trackers are going to tell me, okay, these 3 people have that file. So then I can connect to those 3 people and download it. So that's pretty important. You need to know who has the file in order to know who to download it from. So if you ever get a torrent that doesn't have any seeds, or maybe you're getting super slow download speeds from the ones you do have, you can always right-click and add new trackers. And a good place to get more trackers is this tracker list right here. I'll put a link in the description or however I plan on uploading this video. And if we just click raw over here, we can copy this URL and paste it right here. Now I can re-announce, and now I'm asking all of these trackers who has this file, that way I can download it from more people. If we click on peers, this is going to show, okay, all of these people have this file, and that's who I'm currently downloading it from. Or maybe they're downloading it from me. It goes both ways. HTTP sources usually aren't used much anymore, but that's when a torrent has a set place on the internet where you can also download the files in addition to using the BitTorrent network. And content is just going to have a list of all the files you're downloading. You can uncheck them to say, no, I don't want this, or you can prioritize some files to make them download faster than others. Like say you're downloading an entire season of a TV show, you might want to prioritize season 1, or maybe episode 1, that way you can watch that while the rest of it is downloading. So I mentioned earlier, with peers, some of these people can download from you. So the way BitTorrent works, it's kind of a give and take thing. That's why a lot of private trackers have ratio limits, or requirements, I should say. What I'm doing here is I'm downloading this file from those 3 people, or those 2 people. What I'm downloading here is I'm downloading this file from those 2 seeders. Right now I'm a peer, because I'm one of the people downloading this. Whenever this download completes and I have this file, I become a seeder and other people can then download this file from me. It's kind of your way of giving back to the community. So enough of that, let's go through the settings. If I don't mention something, then probably just leave it how it is. For whatever reason I felt it wasn't important enough to comment on. One important thing to know is closing BitTorrent to the notification area. This makes it to where if you click the X button, it doesn't actually close. It just kind of minimizes it down in this area. If you want that, leave it on. If you don't, turn it off. I'm going to turn it off because I don't actually seed from this computer. I have my own seed box I use. There's not really much you're probably going to change in downloads. If we go over to connection though, we have a pretty important one. This is what port you're going to use for incoming connections. If you plan on seeding anything, or even if you don't, you want to set this to some random port. So whenever you first load this, just click random a couple times. That's going to change what port it uses. This is the port that you're going to need to port forward in your router whenever you're using BitTorrent. It's not exactly required, but without it you'll have slower speeds. You want to set a global maximum number of connections. Now mine's probably a little bit too high. What this is how many connections you can have going. Like if you're downloading this from 37 people and uploading it to 47 people, your computer has to keep track of all of that, and especially Windows isn't very good at keeping track of that many networking threads. But again, unless you're running like a whole lot of torrents and seeding a ton of things, you probably don't really need to worry about that. IP filtering, used to what people would do is they would have a big file that lists a whole bunch of IP addresses that you don't want to mess with. Like, those are people who will report you for copyright infringement. That's pretty much useless nowadays, so we're just going to ignore that. Speed, you can set up alternative download limits. Like if I'm downloading something, I could set this to maybe 400 and 400. That way I can still be like playing a game or something, and the network speed from this isn't going to kill my game and give me a ton of lag. If you go to BitTorrent, all these 3 things here help you find more seeds. So you usually want to keep those on. The only time you're going to turn those off is if you're on a private tracker that doesn't allow that. This is a pretty big one, torrent queuing. I always raise these values here because I've never ran into a problem where I had too many going at once. So if you're downloading a whole bunch of torrents at once, you want to change this, that way you don't have to wait for the first 3 to finish before going to the next one. And you can also click this, which makes it to where if a torrent is stalled or if it's only downloading like a tiny bit at a time, it doesn't affect that any. And remember earlier when I said you would add trackers to download? You can click this box here and copy this list of trackers and add it here, and it will automatically add those to every torrent you add. Now again, if you're using a private tracker, you don't want to do this. In fact, I don't even think it will let you, but best not to try it. RSS. What this does is most of these torrent websites have an RSS feed, which means anytime somebody uploads something to their website, it's going to be put in this RSS feed. And you can tell your torrent client to automatically check these websites to see if any of this stuff is uploaded. As soon as something gets uploaded, you will automatically download it. This is again usually for seed boxes and people on private trackers who need to keep up high ratios. Web UI, this will make it to where you can access this over the internet. I'm not going to cover that in this video because most of you probably don't need this. And one very important thing here at Advanced, you won't need it now, but later once we talk about using a VPN, you can use this network interface here to bind this thing. Like if I choose physical internet here, this is my ETH0. This tells BitTorrent to only use my Ethernet cable to download stuff. If I'm connected to Wi-Fi, don't use it. This is more important with Ethernet adapters where I can tell BitTorrent to only use my VPN, meaning if I'm not connected to my VPN, don't download anything. And that's about all the settings you need to know of. Lastly, I'm going to show you a really cool feature that will allow you to search for torrents without actually having to go to any of these websites. If you go up to View, you can turn on this search engine. And right here we have the search button. As you can see, there's not any search plugins installed. Click the button down here to grab them. So now you can see you can get new search engine plugins here. So if we just click on that, what these are, these allow you to search any of these websites directly from BitTorrent without having to go there. ETTV is a really good tracker for TV episodes. So I'm just going to copy this, go back to BitTorrent, install a new one, web link. And it's already pasted it there for me. So I click OK, and now this is enabled. So now I can go up here and I can search for a movie like The New Mandalorian. And here we have a list of all the results. Maybe sort this by Cedars. So if I wanted to download Season 1, Episode 6, I could just right-click, download. And again, we can install more plugins to where this will search more places. A lot of people don't know about this feature, and it's really nice, so be glad you found it. That's really about it. I'm gonna wait for this to download all the way, that way I can show you how to remove it, so I'll just cut to that. Alright, so now that this file is downloaded, you can see it's now seeding it to other people. Common courtesy is to allow your seed ratio to hit 1.0, meaning if you've downloaded 634 megabytes, you've also sent 634 megabytes to other people wanting to download this. If we just right click here and go to ratio, you'll see that mine is at 0. But again, I usually use a seed box and don't seed on my main computer. So in order to remove this, you're just going to click it, right click, and click delete. And you're going to make sure this is unchecked. If you check this, it will also delete all the stuff you downloaded, and that's not what we want. So uncheck that and click OK. And you're done. You can just close this and go enjoy your file.